Open your ears and lube up your butthole. It's time for the What Do We Call It podcast. Now, here's your host. It's J-Man. Welcome to the What Do We Call It podcast. I'm J-Man.
This is Steiny.
Here we go again.
This is going to be a fun one for you because I've kind of told you about this, but I didn't get to give you all of the details.
Ooh.
I'm talking, of course, about the police standoff that occurred at
the Beast's
house.
Ah, yes, you intimated at that a while back.
Okay, so I get a voicemail from
the Beast.
She's like, "Hey, it's me. I got something I got to talk to you about, so could you just call me when you get a chance?" And my first reaction is, God damn it, how much is this going to cost? Because usually she has that very mea culpa tone when she needs a loan or something.
I was just going to say she's asking for money or needs a favor.
Yeah. And then I called her, and she begins to tell me the story. And she's like, so I just want to let you know that the cops were at my house the other day. I'm like, oh,
how many
really?
days ago is she telling you this?
Well, I found this out on Tuesday morning on my lunch break. And she had told our daughters the night before when she wanted to let me know. But she asked them, is your dad in a good mood? They're like, no, he said he had a bad day. Which I'd actually said I had a long day, not a bad day. So she waited to the next, calendar day to tell me. And this is Sunday that all of this went down.
Sure, so 2 days after the fact.
And she begins to tell me that Dumblecock assaulted her. I'm like, oh, well, that's original. Because, he strangled her a few times.
I was going to say, this isn't the first time, right?
He's punched her and gave her a black eye last December.
Jeez, yeah.
One time he had her pinned up against the wall and her bed with his arm across her throat. Yeah, shit just keeps escalating, and she doesn't leave him behind for whatever dumb motherfucking reason. She keeps letting him back in.
You dumbass.
And what happened this time is she's like, well, he hit me. I'm like, and? She's like, well, repeatedly. I'm like, oh.
Okay.
Well, what did you say? Which sounds like I'm victim
blaming. I know, but at the same point in time,
if you know her,
yeah,
she likes to push people's buttons. The first time he strangled her, she was laying into him for 20 minutes, her own admission, and he begged her to fucking shut up. And she wouldn't. And he lost his shit. I've been there with her many times. She likes to fucking redline your temper, almost like she has a death wish. It's fucking weird.
She just needles you and needles you and needles you and needles you. Yeah, I can see that.
It's got to be like laying down on the ground and having somebody take a 6x6 tamper and just pound on your skull is how she does. There's nothing fucking subtle about it whatsoever. And she again says, well, like he hit me and then I ran out of the house and then he tried to chase after me. And then I went to the neighbor's house and had her call the cops, and then he ran back into my house and barricaded himself inside. And not just like he put a kitchen table in front of the door.
Okay.
He ran downstairs and got a drill and some 3-inch screws, and he screwed both the side and the front door of the house shut.
Wow. That's actually kind of smart. But that's still not going to stop them from getting into the house.
No. Because somebody who's of decent size and knows where on the door to kick to take it off the hinges or at least break the lock and get through is going to be able to do it in 1 or 2 kicks. And she tells me that the cops had to shut her road down. I'm like, what do you mean? Well, because he was barricaded in the house, they kind of set up a perimeter, like 3 houses down on each side.
I'm assuming it's kind of a normal, residential neighborhood, so it's not like people couldn't go around or find a way to get through otherwise, but still.
Yeah. And it's funny because she's like, well, I mean, you were going to hear about it either way. It's on Facebook. I'm like, what do you mean? Well, it's on, the local police blotter.
Oh.
Or the radio clips. And it was.
I didn't realize they did that on Facebook.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There's a Facebook group of local police blotter, and there's 5 people that run it, and they, update shit that they hear. They must not fucking have a job or hobbies. Holy Christ.
Yeah.
Because they think they're fucking Barbara Gordon as the Oracle from the Nightwing comic book for some fucking reason. And it wasn't just that they set up a perimeter. They fucking surrounded the house.
2 hours later.
So they go to get into the house, and they bust the door in.
Sure.
And they're looking for him. And she said they found him hiding downstairs.
You know, the smart move would have been to lock everything up and then leave the house and get out of there. So then they just waste a bunch of time looking for
Right, because there was a back sliding glass door he could have gone out of and then like hopped the fencing on the next block over. I don't know. Those are the details she gave me.
Okay.
In reality, what happened was 12 squad cars showed up, including the county SWAT team.
Oh, I was going to ask if they brought the van.
Yeah, dude, they fucking rolled deep. And they brought a dog, and they brought a goddamn camera robot.
What?
They went into the house once they busted the door, and they were looking for him because they didn't know if he had weapons. So they sent in the camera robot.
Okay, I can understand trying to minimize the confrontation, the likelihood that something could go wrong, but really? Are we just wanting to use all of our toys? Is that what this is?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, if you're going to fucking have it, you might as well use it. I'm surprised they didn't send like a drone up with a flashlight over the backyard and start looking around the sandbox or behind the garage.
With the heat camera, right? To see, is he hiding in the yard? Is he, yeah.
Oh, I didn't think of that. Now I'm just picturing the movie Predator.
Yep. Except snow and houses instead of lush jungle.
And they sent the dog in. The dog found him downstairs in her furnace room, hiding under a blanket. He is 6'3".
I guess a childlike mindset? Like, what?
He was fried.
Okay.
He was methed out of his mind. He had spent 2 days at her house because he was, quote, in town for a probation meeting for the strangulation case in another county.
Oh, yeah, this...
And then his tranny went out. Not like, you know, somebody that he knows who's transitioning decided to go for a walk. The transmission on his car.
Well, I didn't know if he had a tranny. Like, I didn't know you could own one.
You can own them. Apparently they're not real people. I don't... So he crashed at her house, and he spent all weekend going through her fucking phone, and then he took a knife and cut up her clothes. He cut up her underwear. He cut up some tank tops he thought were lingerie, and he cut up her sundresses.
So she wouldn't be messing around or no other guy and that type of thing, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
And he also, when she said repeatedly punched her in the head, it went on all weekend. And he told her, he's like, go ahead, make a smart-ass remark right now and knock your fucking teeth out.
Boy.
Yeah, shit got very real.
And it happened all weekend, but it wasn't until Sunday that she decided to get out of there and go to the neighbors?
She said she thought that she legitimately could be killed by him, and that's when she finally made a mad dash for the door. Because, according to her, he followed her into every room of the house she went in, unless she was in the bathroom. And when she was in there, he basically, like, hovered outside the door.
Just listened and, yeah.
I mean, that is fucking insane behavior.
That is correct.
Should have called the cops on him a lot sooner. Well, obviously, there's a lot of hindsight in this, and should have never even allowed him to get back into your house. But Jesus Christ.
I don't think she honestly had the opportunity to call them without risking possibly being, you know, severely assaulted or stabbed or something.
Well, yeah, I suppose even in the bathroom with the doors locked, you still can't trust that he's not going to break it down by the time the cops get there or something. So
he's got enough power to him that it wouldn't take much to get through that door.
Right.
Fucking Jack Nicholson in goddamn Shining style.
Peekaboo!
So anyways, they arrest him, and he's got the domestic assault charge and felony drug possession charge and not resisting arrest but something close to it, and then a violation of probation. And then that violates what he had for probation in the other county from the strangulation case.
Sure.
Because she begged the prosecutors then to go easy on him and give him a gross miss instead of a felony. Sure. His probationary term stated no same or similars, no contact with victim, and he screwed the pooch on both of those, obviously. Mm-hmm. So that will now re-escalate his gross miss to a felony.
I was going to say, yeah, that should elevate it, yeah.
And he's on a hold, and they have to settle the case where we live before he goes back to the other county. So he's looking at some fucking time.
That sounds like the best thing.
Most definitely. And she starts to tell me, like, after he got taken away, the cops told her that she's lucky they even showed up because she keeps allowing him in and welcoming this shit, and that they weren't sure this call was real because she's made dozens of calls in the last year or two.
Yeah.
And she sounds fucking nuts for some of the things she claims he did, like stealing her identity and cloning her phone and stalking her via the router in her house, which the cable company did tell her it looks like it's been tampered with and altered. He's like an IT wizard.
Well, when you're awake all the time from doing math, you got a lot of time to study.
And he keeps skating on all these other charges because he gives up other people.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Which I'm so sick of the cops making deals with criminals.
Right, we're just trading bad guys at that point, right?
Yeah, so that was Sunday night. She told the kids Monday. She told me Tuesday.
Sure.
Then I read all about it on goddamn Facebook. And I'm telling people at work about this after I come back from lunch because I'm fucking gobsmacked. I mean, one thing is he's assaulting her. I wish I would say I'm not numb to that now because it's happened so often that I'm not even surprised. Mm-hmm. But I'm telling people, I'm like, the fucking SWAT team was at her house. The SWAT team.
Right.
And I scolded her saying, you have enough problems at your house that don't be shocked if you are summoned by the city to meet with somebody and they ask you to move. Because if you have a problematic house, they can fucking eject you from a city.
None of those neighbors want that, right? You know, the people that live on the street, they don't want this regular disturbance of having the cops out there and SWAT teams showing up, 12 squads.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
one guy on the Facebook page said, oh, there's cops at that house all the time. This is nothing new.
And that's your house. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's your life. You are that house. You are that place. You are that person. Jesus.
So I wish I could say that was the end of it.
Oh, I imagine. Where does this go from here?
She had all of his stuff there afterwards.
Like the stuff he showed up with?
Yeah,
because of
his
bad
personal
tranny?
property. And she goes into his iPad and finds out he's been like contacting a bunch of different chicks.
Of course.
So he's like fucking a bunch of different broads, and she's taking stock of all this. Like, he's accusing me of cheating, and we're not even together, and look what he's doing.
Right.
And then she somehow gets into her Snapchat for the first time in months because he's had control of all of her shit. He's changed her passwords on her.
Sure.
She gets in. She gets inundated with back messages.
And?
Most of them are from girls.
Mm-hmm.
And she's telling them, no, that's fine. I don't want him. You can have him because he's been screwing you and me and her and her and her. I'm like, I'm getting all these messages from all these other girls that are telling me to stay away from their man, and he's been fucking us all. But one message in particular stood out because it was a chick that was using like the voice feature. You can talk into Snapchat to send a message, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I don't know. I'm not on Snapchat, so.
Nor am I. But she's Russian. And she tells the beast, stay away from my man or I will come for you. And I will bring a machete. And she's getting other voicemail death threats in Russian, like angry Russian people. I have no fucking idea. And I tell her, call the cops. And she's like, I'm not calling the cops. They're not going to believe me because they're snap messages. They disappear after you listen to them.
Sure. That whole thing.
I'm like, well, if they're Russians, I mean, they're kind of getting a bad rap lately. Why don't you fucking call the local FBI? They can probably track that shit and get a hold of those messages. I mean, come on. If some bitch threatens you with a machete, does that not bring you to a new height of alarm?
Right. Especially for that bag of shit, dude. Right?
Yeah, because if
you're gonna have some woman come after you,
she's
with a machete,
on drugs.
Yeah.
Possibly she shows up with 3 or 4 other people named like, you know, Slava and Igor and whatever the fuck their names are. And I'm just like, is this how it ends? Does she get murdered by a group of fucking foreigners that are like the for real version of all those nerds in the tracksuits from the Big Lebowski?
Right. The nihilists. They were German, though. They were German.
Yeah, they were kind of funny, but I'm talking like the real version of those motherfuckers. So she has contact with the prosecutor's office over this now, and she's trying to get a speedy trial because she doesn't want it to be dragged out over the span of a year. And they shot it down, which I thought was surprising because with the seriousness of all of this, you know, she finally said, I want you to put a lifetime Danco in place because here's what's different from last time. I was never afraid he might kill me before, but after this weekend, I am scared that he's going to get out and murder me. So you need to keep him in there and give him a very high bail, if any. And they offered him a bail that involved, like, not talking to her and anger management and having a bracelet on and all these other conditions. And he's like, I'm not doing that.
In this day and age, where we talk about victims not being protected and whatnot, they're still going to give this as an option, and he won't do it. He won't do it.
Yeah. I don't know why they would offer that, but he's got that hold from the other county, so he can't just, you know, get out, pay a bail.
Sure.
Whatever the hell happens here, he's immediately being transported there.
I was
He'll sit in their jail until he has a hearing on the violation of probation where they discuss, you know, escalating the charge back up to because he violated the terms of probation. So now it's going to be, I guess technically you would call it like an aggravated felony.
Okay. Yeah.
So 1 misdemeanor for trying to evade arrest and 3 new felonies for the domestic and the probation violation and the drugs.
You said the felony drug thing, was that before or was that part of this weekend?
Part of this weekend because he had meth.
Okay, and he had a felony's worth of amount on him, huh?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, they had to wait to put it in there until they field tested it.
Sure.
Which obviously meth. But no, for some reason, he hid himself under a blanket but didn't think to hide his drugs.
If he was on meth all weekend, my guess is he had no sleep and his brain, like you said, was fried. He was a whole different person. Years ago, I had a roommate, Eric, and we dabbled in some of this kind of stuff. But he was the type of person to stay up like a whole weekend, and he would hear voices. He would start to hallucinate. I mean, it was just fucking crazy when he'd been up for like 36 hours straight, you know, and that the behavior you described did not surprise me at all.
So I'm hoping that this is what gets him to finally go away, because the last wrinkle of this is once she told me, and I was on my lunch break, you know, I'm eating quick, and then I go for a walk, weather permitting. I was going for a walk that day.
Absolutely have to, yeah.
Because I was just like, holy shit. And while I'm on my walk, you know, I called her other kid's dad, and I asked him if he knows what's going on. He's like, yeah, it's fucking nuts. He's like, I can't believe that she keeps going back to him, because you know how this ends, right? I'm like, oh yeah, he fucking kills her. He's like, absolutely. So many cases like this, the dude just finally works his way up to murdering the victim. And I'm like, that would be terrible. Ish. I don't want him to kill her.
I know.
Like, for real. But it's hard to ignore the past 13 years of emotional abuse and physical assault and trial and tribulation and stress on my marriage from her.
And the upcoming ones that you haven't even gotten to yet, because this isn't going to end in any time soon, right? So you're going to have more years of dealing with her and arguing about stuff. I know what you mean, man.
And the girls are like, oh, we hate him. We know he's a piece of garbage. I'm like, yeah, but at the same time, they're watching you do this. And it sounds like it's using the whole after-school special effect on them, and it's working, but who knows? So I don't know where this is going to go and how much time he's going to get, but he's going to end up doing at least a year.
That's it?
I think.
You'd think of all these felony level crap. I mean, Jesus. Yeah, that's nuts.
Well, if you want to do some hard time, you got to kill a bitch.
Well, sounds like it's on that track.
Yeah, the trajectory, if we're playing the averages, is I'm going to get a phone call that I need to go down to the Social Security Administration and apply for checks every month because their mom's deceased.
Right, and the kids can now collect her Social Security benefits.
Yeah. Interact with the show on Twitter at What Do We Call It. That is at What Do We Call It. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/What Do We Call It podcast show. For the What Do We Call It podcast, I'm J-Man.
This is Steiny.
And that's the end.